Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Reviewing Comics with me, your host, Alexander Turbin. Today we're going to be going over Vampirella Classic #1 from Harris Comics. But before we get into that, I'd like to show you some of my own work. This is Random Access. You can get this at patreon.com/Alexander Turbin. And I don't think I've ever really explained it fully what Random Access is. Random Access is 3 rotating stories that I do every month. It's usually black and white, but the last couple months have been, or this last month was black and white, and the others have been in color. So I'm going back to the color when I can get caught up on the other artwork and stuff that I'm working on. But it's 3 rotating stories. One is called Queller, which is what this is. This is the newest issue from this month, and you can get it at patreon.com/Alexander Turbin, or you can go to my website, alexanderturbin.com. And this is this month. The previous month was Cyrene the Cleric, and the month before that was this story was The People of Vandor, was a comic strip that I did on a daily basis for Instagram. But this month, I have 2 regular stories, and then I have a third rotating, kind of just whatever catches my fancy, whether it's reprinting something from the past or Death Knight or whatever. So my third story is really up in the air usually. But you can go to my website and get Mutandis and Forlorn and all kinds of other stuff. Or you can message me at alexturbin04401 at yahoo.com or alexturbin04401 at Instagram. So now that I'm done pandering and trying to get you to purchase my comic books and make me wealthy and famous beyond my highest reckonings, Vampirella. I did a Vampirella Wetworks, I think it was, crossover, and it was okay, I guess. It wasn't the most fantastic thing. This is actually a reprint of Vampirella. I don't know if it's a reprint of this, Vampirella number 11, or 12 rather, or it's of an earlier issue. But this is definitely a reprint of, let's see if it has it here. It was reprinted in 1995, so this was reprinted in 1995. And one of the big things I wanted to look at was the Frank Frazetta cover. He is, of course, one of the greatest artists of all time, and his women in particularly, and his human form is just fantastic. I can't convey how much I love his artwork and how wonderful I think it is. And I just think so many of us strive to get his physical form down as much as we can. So Vampirella, I'm a little bit torn by her as a character because I'm really not into. I know now I'm kind of getting into the fact that she's good girl. I'm not entirely sure she is good girl, or whether it's like a branch off of horror good girl or something like that. But I'm thinking that she's good girl. If anybody out there is a good girl collector, please let me know. Is Vampirella good girl? Good girl art, good girl story. I'm thinking that Cyrene is good girl, even though there's a lot of characters in Cyrene as well. But one of the things that kind of detracts the thing that I've always liked about comic books is this pandering to adolescent boys, I guess. I was an adolescent boy. I loved women. I still love women. Looking at women. I mean, maybe it's a politically incorrect or whatever, but all dudes love to look at hot women. It's just a thing. But I never wanted to get anything that was not of a substance level. If I didn't feel like it had some substance and there was just like pretty girls on fast cars kind of pictures, posters, I really didn't want anything to do with it. The good girl stuff, or the girl stuff that I've always enjoyed. I always felt that there was some substance underneath, and I'm hoping that I bring the substance to Cyrene. But like the substance from Dawn and Joseph Michael Lindster's art and his stories for Dawn. It's something of substance. It's not just big-breasted women out there fighting, slashing. I feel like Lady Death is that. Maybe not. I haven't actually read any Lady Death, so maybe I'm completely wrong about that. But just some of the stuff. Vampirella, I just kind of thought was just that. Was just showgirls on a boxing ring or whatever. There as an ornament and not as an actual good character. But I'm kind of finding out after reading this that maybe I'm wrong, and maybe she does have a little bit of substance. So it starts off with Vampirella in a graveyard, and there's a lot of exposition at the beginning, talking about Scar and the Chaos Lord and stuff like that, and it really doesn't sink in until you've actually read the issue. I'm assuming that in Vampirella 1 through 11, if this is actually a reprint of 12, that you know these characters from previous times, and some of the other characters that are in here that just kind of show up, and it's not done in a way that I really think the way the characters are introduced is really fantastic. So if this is the first introduction to Van Helsing and W.W. Miles or whatever, then I think it's really done in a great way. Also, the coloring, they're still, I think this is still digital coloring because it's Bear Bite Graphics is digital coloring, but it's into the digital coloring enough years that people are starting to learn the different techniques and the different ways that you can go about digital coloring, and really they're getting a grasp of not just a blending and stuff like that, but adding some shadow, shading, depth, and texture and all that kind of stuff, and adding a certain quality to it that I think a lot of the digital artists in the beginning just couldn't cope with. It's Vampirella. She's in a graveyard, and she's weak. She's been attacked by something. I don't know. And then it kind of switches the storyline. It kind of, the story does this. It'll start somewhere into a storyline, and then it'll kind of move on to something that's storyline adjacent. So it will have something to do with the main story, but it kind of is still adjacent to it. It has these two hillbillies, and they're in the same graveyard, and they're talking about Wade, W.W. Wade, who's like the billionaire of the town, and he has everybody scared because he's got the police and the military or whatever and under his thumb. So these two guys, they're talking about his oil wells and his farms and his banks and stuff, and how they're protecting that, and they're not protecting this graveyard. But so they break into one of the graves of W.W. Wade, and it's some sort of creature appears, and it looks like an angel of death, and it kills one of them, and it kind of chases the other one, and it catches them and kills it, and then it comes looking for Vampirella. Maybe it's Elvira that I am thinking that is not of any quality or substance, and she's just like a showpiece. I'm thinking that, man, if Vampirella was dressed a little bit differently, I think I would take her a little bit more seriously. And if that's the case with Cyrene, because in all of these comics that I'm reviewing and stuff, I really I'm comparing it, I'm contrasting it to my own work, and if something catches my eye, I really like it, and I'll definitely try to incorporate it into my own comic books and stuff. But if I'm noticing it's something that I don't think I should be doing, then I'm going to go that direction too. If Cyrene is too sexy, is that such a thing? I've actually had one of my readers say that she looks like she could be a little too sexy, and doesn't seem to be in substance enough to her storyline or whatever. But I'm working away from her costume. She's actually on a quest in the newest issues to find something that belongs to her religion or whatever, and that's going to kind of transform her whole outlook and whole way that she's portrayed in the comics that I'm making. So maybe that's a thing. I'll have to do that sooner rather than later. I do have this this whole storyline created and going on that it would be years before she gets into her new clothing and her new stuff. So maybe I might have to speed that up a little bit. So anyway, Vampirella is taken by this dark angel or whatever, and she disappears. And it shifts over to another part of the storyline. And I didn't really say who was the artists and writers and stuff. Archie Goodwin is the writer, and Jose Gonzalez is the artist, and Bear Bites Graphics is the colors. Wonderful. I'm not going to backtrack and talk about the writing and the art, because the writing is top notch and the art is top notch. It's fantastically done on both parts, and everything that I look for in comic books is really here on display. Especially the art. The art is super. It was done back in 74, I think, originally, or 69. Now 69. I don't know. I'm getting my timelines confused. I know that Vampirella was introduced in the 60s, and then this might be in the mid 70s, early 70s, something like that. But this W.W. Wade, and he's an old man, and his doctor is telling him that he only has a year to live, and he's saying that he's going to go for a walk around the grounds, and the doctor says, "No, I don't think you should do that." And they just have this kind of dialogue between them, talking about him being on death's door, and not taking into any account anybody's thoughts or anything like that. He's not listening to the doctor's advice, and he's got all of these people, whether they're relatives or something, like lurking around the house. And I guess he keeps them there because he kind of wants to show off his wealth and his power and stuff like that. But he's going off and he's walking around the grounds, and he's going to the graveyard. He says he has a particular interest in the graveyard since he only has a year to live. And he goes to the demon Scar, which he is actually under the employ of W.W. Wade. And they're having this conversation about the kids that the demon killed, and Wade doesn't care about that. It's the Vampirella that he cares about, and he thinks that she's a vampire, and the demon says that she is. He goes back to the house, tells everybody to leave and get out of there, and then it cuts to another scene. This next scene is Van Helsing and his son, and they have this whole exchange of some of the things that have happened, and I don't know whether or not they've happened in previous comics, but really I don't care. It's enjoyable to the story, and they discuss all of the things that have happened and have transpired to create them as the vampire hunters that they are and stuff. Like his son was killed, or his family was killed, and they went on looking for Vampirella because she actually killed his son, and so they're just kind of going in that direction, looking for her. So I assume that they were in previous issues, but I don't know that for sure. But that's what you should do in a comic book is, if you're not going to have in the beginning, say the what happened previously, you have to have the characters talk about what happened in the past to give you a kind of a clue as to what's going on in the story that's going on now. They're pulled over by the police officer. Police officer is owned by W.W. Wade and Wilson Wade, or is it Wilson? I think it's Wade. And cop tells them to come with him. Wade has a special task for them. Vampirella is being held captive, and I know that they wanted a cover by Frank Frazetta because that sells comic books because he's so awesome. But it's really a missed opportunity to do one of those classic bondage covers, which is what I was really trying to do with Cyrene here. I really wanted to just do a classic bondage cover of a character, and I think that's part of the good girl lore, mythos, or whatever it is. Or I don't know what you'd call it. But she's held captive in chains, and she's trying to get out, and she's talking to the demon Scar. I think it's Scar. Is it Scar? I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it's Scar. But anyway, she can't transform into her bat form because she's weakened and she's been attacked by the demon. And she takes a serum that keeps her from wanting the blood of humans. And the vial was smashed by Wade to get her to revert to her natural form of wanting to suck the blood out of humans. Wade brings Van Helsing and his son to his mansion with the police officer, and they're the experts. So he wants to know if Vampirella is definitely a vampire. So he brings them down to Vampirella, and this is kind of a missed opportunity. I know that the whole image kind of thing wasn't around then, especially back in the 70s, but I really feel like this panel here could have been really bigger and really could have shown off the sexiness of Vampirella if that's what you're going for. Because this pose here, that's what it is. It's a money shot of Vampirella. And I think that you could have gone really flipped this the other way, or made it bigger and moved the dialogue and balloons and stuff like that. Because these two panels, not really a big deal. So they say Van Helsing and the son say it is the girl that killed his son, and they want to kill her. So they go rushing at her. But Wade smacks him in the head, knocks him out, and shoots the son with his cane. That's a gun. And I am going to get a cane with a gun when I need a cane, definitely. Or a sword. I've always wanted a sword cane, and that is definitely going to happen. So he realizes, or rather he's confirmed, that Vampirella is a vampire, and he wants her to turn him into a vampire. Turn him into a vampire, sucking his blood, converting him into the undead. But she won't do it yet because she's been struggling with this whole thing of not sucking the blood out of people, not trying to turn them into vampires. And apparently Vampirella is a vampire from another planet, which is coming up. Wade leaves, slams the door, and leaves the son with Vampirella there. He's been shot in the shoulder, and she's trying her hardest not to want to suck his blood. And so they just have kind of a little story here where she talks about how she was from another planet, and they were dark vampires, and they had some sort of blood drought, wherever, because everybody sucked blood as a vampire there, and there was a drought, so she had to come here, and she's been learning new ways. She fell in love with somebody, and he invented a serum so that she wouldn't be sucking the blood out of people. So she tells him that she has it under control now, and that she wasn't responsible for killing his brother. So he believes her, and but he passes out, and she uses her final strength to break the chains of her captors, and she rushes to the boy, and almost going to suck his blood, but maybe not. Maybe she's trying to keep from doing that when the old man wakes up and attacks Vampirella, and the son is trying to tell the father that he's wrong about her and that he has to stop. And then this is probably why I had that feeling about the Good Girl art and the Vampirella and the pinups, because so much of Vampirella and all that stuff are pinups, and I'm not really into that. I wish this had been story pages, I guess, and all this posters and stuff of Vampirella. Yes, she's a sexy girl. Yes, that's awesome, but I guess it's just not for me. I would much rather see story and stuff like that. So Wade and the cop decide to go down to the dungeon and check on Vampirella. He's been letting her stew for a while now, so that she'll be hungry for blood, and that's what he's hoping for, so that she will turn him into a vampire. But the sheriff goes through the door, and Van Helsing accidentally kills him instead of Vampirella, and they just kind of escape and trying to get out of there, and Vampirella is left there. They just kind of leave, and Wade is still having some sort of internal discussion about what's going to happen. These two are leaving via the graveyard, and the demon is coming after them. And Vampirella and Wade have their little talk about him wanting her to turn him into a vampire. The demon comes after these two, and they dodge out of the way at the last minute, and it's very, exciting, lots of action and stuff. And Wade finally convinces Vampirella to suck his blood and to try to turn him into a vampire. And Van Helsing and his son, they're on the ground, and they're feel like they're about to die. And Van Helsing throws some stuff at the demon. The demon starts to come at them, but before he does, Vampirella at the same time is sucking the blood out of Wade, W.W. Wade, and Wade falls to the ground, and we feel like he's been turned into a vampire. And Van Helsing says that he's going to fight, till the end of time or whatever. They fought enough vampires and demons that if that's how they're going to go, that's how they're going to go. But the demon just disappears. They have no answer why. And you go back to the next scene where it's Vampirella and W.W. Wade, and Wade is on the floor, and the demon is there, and she is a little bit confused, thinking that Wade would have tricked him into the demon into not taking his soul, because there's a Chaos Lord, which I guess I should have started with this. There's a Chaos Lord that has dibs to W.W. Wade's soul, and as long as he's human, and as long as he has control of this demon here, because this is like a servant of the Chaos Lord or something like that. And so Wade is dead, and the demon lord, he kind of lets on that Vampirella, yes, she is a vampire. Yes, she sucks blood to stay alive, but she's not an earthly vampire. She doesn't transmit the virus with biting and stuff. That's only an earthly vampire. She's an alien vampire. And so he just kind of has died, and it's revealed that this demon here is actually the father of W.W. Wade. And so they've had this whole father-son relationship that's been back and forth and creepy and stuff. So he's dragging him to hell or to Lord Chaos or whatever. And Vampirella just kind of makes her way through the mansion and out of the mansion, and turns into a bat and just kind of flies away. And then there's some more good girl, bad girl, good girl art. I guess it's showing the Topps cards. And then there's a backup story about Vampirella that I'm just not going to get into tonight. So Vampirella Classic #1 is a really fun read. It's just like any of those old ECs or comics like that. They're just fun to read. They're just, they're good. There's usually a twist in the end, which there are a lot of twists here. And this is actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be. And I would definitely pick up more Vampirellas if I see them. So I'm going to give this, I'm just giving this the story because there's a lot of different artists and writers and stuff for Vampirella. And I don't know who created Vampirella. Was it Archie Goodwin and Jose Gonzalez? Did they create Vampirella? I'm going to have to look that up now. But anyway, I really like this story, and it's, like I said, it's like EC or something like that, an old 50s horror thing, or creepy and stuff like that. So it's really fun to read, and the coloring really did add a lot to it. I really loved the coloring of Bear Bites Graphics. I wish they actually said who it is in the beginning. Kevin Horn is the colorist. I don't know why they didn't show it here the colorist, because he really adds a lot to the story. It's really fantastic. He makes it bright where he needs to, and he makes it dark where he needs to, and it's got this nice painterly watercolor look. I don't know whether it's all digital effects or some of it is watercolor and some of it's digital effects. I don't know, but it's really fantastic, and I love the art. I really love the art. The art is so reminiscent of all of that old EC and creepy and cracked and stuff kind of stuff. I mean, it's very expressive, and they use the panels right. It's really fantastic stuff. All of the line work is really great. They have open panels when they should. There is a lot of dialogue and a lot of text, but that's perfectly okay because the art kind of interweaves with it, and it's not singular on it and on its own. So it's I really enjoyed it. All of this facial expressions, there's a lot of emotion going on in these comics, and I really love it. I really enjoy it, especially at the end where the criminal or bad guy villain gets what's coming to him, and that's a really fantastic part of the story. So I really love the story. Vampirella Classic #1. I'm going to give it an 8. I probably could give it more, but it does have its certain limitations. It does read like an old, eerie, creepy magazine, but those have they have certain limitations as well. Like they are really good, but they don't transcend the art form in ways that really make me make me feel more about the art form than I previously had, I guess. But I really did enjoy it. I loved it. It's a solid 8. It's not a bad 8. It's a really good 8. If you guys like this kind of content, please consider subscribing, hitting the notification bell, and all that cool fancy stuff. And but more than that, if you like Vampirella and this kind of stuff, let me know. And let me know about Good Girl, and if you think Cyrene is Good Girl as well. I'd like to know that too. I love to converse with you guys and love to hear what you guys are thinking about the comics that I'm reviewing. So anyway, Vampirella Classic #1 from Harris Comics, and I'm giving it 8. And thanks for watching, and I will see you again next time, and keep on creating.